Good morning, friends. Today we are going to talk about the class 10th novel, The Annie Frank. In this character, first I will tell you about the various characters, important characters in the story, in the novel. As you know, there is a 10 marks question on the novel, so you must be aware of the different characters in the story. You have to write, you can be asked to write about any characters in detail. So first, the most important character, of course, Annie Frank. The whole diary is about herself, but the main thing was that Annie Frank was born in Frankfurt in Germany, and she was brought up in Germany in the starting ages. But as the Hitler invaded the Germany, so they have to move because they were Jewish people, and Hitler did a lot of atrocities against them. So they have to hide in a secret annex, and they moved, and his father and his family, of course, moved to the Amsterdam in Holland to protect themselves from the Hitler. But what happened at the end of the Annie Frank? What happened to her? What changes were taken place in her life was very important to know. As you know, as the life changes on, because most of the time this novel has been an important thing for the students, for the kids, for the teenagers, whose parents don't teach the children as friends. What happens to them? They have to express their feelings. Where are they going to express their feelings? This is what actually this novel is all about. So first I will tell you the brief characteristics of all the following. As you know, the first, of course, Annie Frank. Annie Frank was girl born in Frankfurt, brought up at the age of 4 years old when his father moved to Holland, and thereafter they continued to live in the secret annex. Okay, she was very innocent, tempestuous, and very sensitive and very empathic. If you talk about the characteristics of Annie Frank, you have to be very uh, liberal about that. What actually I am going to tell you, मेरा कहना ये है कि इस नोवेल के आधार पर के बेसिस पर बहुत सारे हमारे दिमाग में ये चीज़ होती है कि एनी फ्रैंक जो है कैसे सेंसिटिव थी. तो अभी जैसे बहुत सारे इसमें एग्जांपल्स के साथ आपको बताना है कि एनी फ्रैंक की सेंसिटिविटी तब पता चलती है जब शी गॉट टू नो फ्रॉम मिस्टर डेसेल और मिस्टर डेक्स्टर के बाहर जो है हिटलर जो है उनकी कम्युनिटी को जो है बहुत ज़्यादा उन पे अत्याचार कर रहा है. तो हर सेंसिटिविटी गोज ऑन वेरी हाई. Similarly, she is also sensitive to the things around us. What is happening? Why this is happening? Why they are not allowed to play with other children, with other kids in the open area in the gardens, and why they have to live in the secret annex. All these things are in the context of the sensitivity of the and the understanding of the Annie Frank. But of course, one by one we will try to understand. First, I will give you a brief sketch of the Mrs. Annie Frank. Her original name was Edith Frank, and as you know, Annie Frank and her mother always have differences between them. Annie Frank always used to say that a mother should not be like her own mother. That means there was something what she used to think about her mother that she never tried to understand uh, the feelings of anything. Suppose her mother has made a perception about anything. Okay, she is like this and always doing like wrong things, and so she had already had a perception due to which she was not able to understand to her daughter. what she actually want to. You also must take into consideration the one fact that Annie Frank was a 13 years old girl and she was not an adult one. So what she thinks about her mother, what she thinks about her father is obviously a childish thing, is of course a teenage thing. So we cannot simply say that okay, she did not like her mother in simple words because she liked her mother, but she used to think that उसकी मदर को ऐसा होना चाहिए that he could be able to understand to the feelings of the her daughter. Okay. Still, we will say that Annie feels a little closeness or sympathy for her mother. Okay, and he also thinks that her mother was too sentimental, बहुत ज़्यादा भावनात्मक, critical means always used to criticize her, always used to criticize whatever happening around us. So in the end, as it dies of hunger and exhaustion in the secret camp, in the concentration camp, in this story you have to remember just a few persons left over in the secret ends were left after the Second World War in the concentration camp. One of the only survivor, according to the novel, according to diary, is of course story is her father and Mr. Otto Frank. Otherwise, all the persons face so much difficulties, so much atrocities in life that they were someone died of hunger, somebody died of disease, and if Frank died of disease. So in this way, you have to remember it. The next person, the most important, is of course his father, Otto Frank. What his father used to do in Germany. Actually, he was a very good businessman there. They have a family business over there. But what happened in Germany during the Second World War, that all the people have to live over there because of the atrocities of the Hitler. So their family business collapsed. They have to move to the from the Frankfurt to the Netherlands, and in this way, on course of this, what happened in their life, Otto Frank as a person was a very good understanding person, and especially he tried most of the times, as you know in the novel, to understand the feelings of Anne Frank. Okay, and when he come to the Amsterdam, they started over a business of selling chemical products along with Mr. Vanden. Both of them, Mr. Vanden and Otto Frank, they were doing this business in order to earn for their family. Okay. Now, as a person, as I was talking about, Mr. Otto Frank remained last in the novel also, because Mr. Annie Frank, Frank Otto Frank, he was a sort of person who actually decided to publish the story, the novel of her daughter, because there was nothing left behind, and they have to live a very harsh life. That also this novel become very important to know, because the context of the novel was Second World War and the atrocities of the Hitler. Otherwise, the people might not know about what happened in Germany, what happened there, but there was a real story. So that's why I think this novel takes a light at this. Next character is of course important, Mr. Vanden. Mr. Vanden, as I tell you, he was a partner with the Mr. Otto Frank in selling chemical products. He is very, according to the Annie, he is intelligent, he is opinionated, pragmatic. Pragmatic means talking about different aspects and differently. Whenever you meet, you will think there is a difference from the earlier on behavior. And then egoist, temperamental, somewhat egoist, anything talks about it. Especially, he is not afraid to cause friction. That means there were frequent quarrels, fights between Mr. Vanden and Mrs. Vanden. That's why Annie Frank used to think, because she has also a negative corner for Mrs. Vanden. So she used to be with the Mr. Vanden, and in the end, Mr. Vanden died in the gas chambers in October 1944. So only his father, Mr. Otto Frank, remained uh, in the in the novel. Only he survived. Mrs. Vanden, and of course, Mrs. Vanden was the wife of the Mr. Vanden. His actual name was Augusta Valpels, and Annie calls her Mrs. Vandens as a friendly, teasing woman. Friendly, teasing woman. Okay, that means she used to be friendly, but she used to be more friendly than she should be. And similarly, teaching women, and but later calls her as in the starting she used to say that, but in the later stages she called her instigator. Instigator, that means she is a fatalist. Fatalist means she used to ask such things, she used to tell about those topics that she should not be speaking about. And she was quite petty, egoist, flirtatious. As I told you, she used to flirt with uh, the father of Anne Frank, that is Mr. Otto Frank. Stingy. Stingy means he used to sting. He used to sting in between the different persons living in the secret annex. And disagreeable. Disagreeable, of course, he used to be said his whatever she said, that yes, she was right and others were wrong, like this. Mrs. Van Dam frequently complains about the family situation, and Mrs. Vanden could not handle the situation properly as she should be, as according to the Anne Frank. Okay. Next character is very interesting one, Peter Vanden, the teenage son of the Vandens, whose real name is Peter Van Bells. But according to the Annie, the first image about the Peter Vanden by the Annie was that the Peter was a obnoxious, lazy, and hypersensitive. But later they became close friends. In the starting stage, she thought that she was very lazy, she was very oversensitive in each and every time. But later there was some closeness between them. Peter is, according to the character, is quite timid, honest, and sweet to Annie, but she does not share her strong convictions. But according to Annie, because Annie was, whatever you think, Annie was a very strong girl in terms of whatever she used to express. Such persons need need to think that their partner, whatever person they like, will be according to the abilities of themselves. That means Annie thinks that Peter Van Den was not as of strong conviction as she was. So, what will happen? So, their friendship continues, but not up to the mark. As Annie used to think that he should be doing like this. He should become like a strong person. He should say whatever he thinks about more properly, but in actual there was nothing like that. During that time in NX, Peter and developed a quite romantic attraction, and there was some crush also in between. Both of them wanted, but Anna expected Peter to speak her feelings, which actually did not happen in the story. Uh, and he is her one confidant and source of affection, attention in the annex. But Peter, in the end, dies in the concentration camp as Annie Frank. So, in this way, this story also ended. Now, next character was Albert Dussel. Dussel was a dentist, and he knew Mr. Franks, who hides with them in the secret annex. Actually, Mr. Dussel, interesting character, comes into the light in the novel when Annie Frank has to share her room with the Mr. Dessel. So the whole scenario, whole the nature of the Mr. Dessel comes into the light. As you know, they have to share the room, and she suffers a very um, personal hygiene habits, especially when she wanted to sleep. Uh, Mr. Dessel objected that he is going to study, and similarly the vice versa. That means there was not good tuning between them. And he was also he used to give pedantic lectures, controlling tendency that you should do this, you should do this, and anything was not a sort of girl which is going to be like this. And in the end, he was separated from her wife, uh, who became Christian, and they were, as you know, Jewish. So there was already differences. So Mr. Desib was a good friend of Annie Frank's and Peter Weston, but he did not have any good tuning with the Annie Frank, because Annie Frank used to think that he is a very controlling person. He used to say to me this, like a teenage person. Okay, so in this story, actually, you think most of the characters are against Annie Frank because she was a teenager girl, so she used to think that everything is wrong and she is only right. And this happens most of the time. Next character is, of course, her sister Margot Frank. In the novel, you will find, in the diary, you will find nothing much about her sister. The only thing is that when Annie Frank was more jealous of her sister about the studies, about the potentials, about the talkings about that she is a very pretty, smart, emotional girl, and everyone's favorite, especially. Right? Because her sister was everyone's favorite, and Annie Frank was no one favorite because she was not like due to her due to her speaking abilities. Everyone rejected a person. If you say something good about others, then obviously you will be liked as her sister, I think, Margot Frank. But they never had such a close relationship with his sisters, and only appears in the diary when there is a sort of cause of jealousy between or anger over her sister. In this way, this continues. In the end, her sister dies of the typhus in the concentration camps before the death of Annie Frank. In this way, we covered the most important characters, all the important characters in the novel. You have to think one thing about this novel, that whatever is in the diary or information we are talking about has been given by a teenage girl. So what she thinks about a person's can be differed from what actually he or she was. So this was only an idea what Annie Frank used to think about the other persons. This does not really mean that it really exists. So, okay, like the Margot Frank. But actually, one thing was clear, that this girl Annie Frank was very expressive, which actually caused her differences with everyone. A person who is to share her feelings with everyone, open to everyone, has to face difficulties in life. This was one of the example, but she was quite different from others. That's why we should applaud her like this. Okay, thank you guys. Remember to subscribe this video if you want to continue with me with this novel. I will make you further summary of the novel. This was the brief explanation of all the characters, major characters in the novel. Thank you, and please subscribe some more and more. Thank you guys.